Welcome to Finding Your Identity in Your Autism Journey, the podcast where we have conversations that matter most. I'm your host, Ruth Cassell, and this show is all about digging deeper into root causes of autism, navigating the uncomfortable conversations that so many of us avoid, and finding clarity in midst of challenges that we face as parents, caregivers, and advocates. We explore stories of hope and real-life struggles and the strength it takes to walk this journey. It isn't about a diagnosis. It's about a journey of understanding, supporting, and truly seeing individuals with autism in our lives and finding our own identities along the way. So whether you are a parent, a professional, or someone just starting to learn, join me as we break down the barriers, share insights, and keep pushing forward in the autism community. Because together, we can navigate this journey, one conversation at a time. Hey, I want to welcome you to a special edition on Finding Your Identity in Your Autism Journey. I'm your host, Ruth Cassell, and today we're diving into an incredible, meaningful conversation. One that so many of us know all too well. In this Roundtable, Mom Chat Edition, we are going to be hearing from a group of amazing moms sharing their stories about first moments when they received a child's autism diagnosis. It's a pivotal moment, a moment that challenges everything in the way we look, a moment that challenges everything in the way we never expected. The emotional roller coaster, the confusion, and the unclarity, but also resilience and strength that comes out of it. We'll be talking about the highs and the lows, the fears and the hopes, and how the diagnosis reshaped our journey as parents. So whether you're a mom who has been on this journey for years or just starting out, you'll find connection and comfort in the stories shared today. Let's get real and dive into this chat, because sometimes we just need to talk about it.
4-year-old who was diagnosed about a year ago with level 3 autism, and she has a speech delay.
Okay, so you guys know a little bit about my journey. My son, he is also a level 3. He has severe apraxia, and he, people will say nonverbal, but I like to use the term non-speaking because he is verbal in different means of communication, such as AAC and letterboards. So I say that to be encouraging for other parents out there because there are other forms of communication.
I like that. I'm going to say that too because she is not nonverbal. She does sometimes speak, just not like everyone else. I like that.
Yeah.
Like you feel like they communicate just a different way.
Yeah. So maybe we'll bring it to that. I want to talk about the diagnosis first, how we all felt. In a other episode that I just recently filmed, we talked about grief and the the denial sometimes people go through, especially in early stages. I know myself, I didn't go through a big denial, but I did go through a really big grief. There was a huge grief. I grieved over I had an image of my son. That's what I grieved. It's like I lost that kid, but I never had that kid to begin.
Yeah.
But I had to get over that. That was me. So, those early days for me were kind of hard in that grieving process. How will he be? Will he need his parents for his whole life? Is he ever going to have a normal relationship? Because I don't know, in that episode, you guys will hear it in that episode too, but I'll refresh you guys' memories if you guys are just now first watching or first listening. I received my son's diagnosis during the pandemic via email.
Mm-hmm.
No phone call. I read the email and then I started Googling, which was probably not the best thing to do, but that's how I got the news. And it was so devastating to me. I already knew something was already going on, but to see it in writing, and it was just really painful. And then I had to wait 3 weeks to get in contact with the doctor because they were on vacation. It was just not great how it was delivered.
No.
So tell us a little bit about your experience.
So Ellie was in early childhood development through early steps. And at first, her pediatrician had basically mentioned that, she should be talking by now. And I'm just like, well, she's going to just do it on her own time, almost offended. And 6 months later, I still never contacted the referrals that he gave me. So then, she's around her cousins. They're all the same age. They're talking. Ellie's not talking, and she's not making eye contact and things like that. So I ended up calling and getting her set up with early steps. And I still thought, okay, she's just doing her own thing. She's, doing great with everything else. She'll be fine, whatever. So I remember her therapist started throwing the idea out there, but she could kind of tell that I was no, because a lot of people had at that point mentioned to me that Ellie is showing signs of being on the spectrum, and I was like, no, she's not. Don't say that, And her therapist was just so awesome, and she kind of delivered it to me and explained it to me a lot more. Listen, all of these kids are completely different. Whatever idea you have in your head, I think you should just... Okay. So her therapist was very gentle about the way that she was delivering it to me, because she could definitely tell, but of course she couldn't tell me or diagnose her because she was not a doctor. But yeah, I was for months and months, I was just no, I'm not gonna label her like that, but when she explained to me all of these kids are different, they all have different abilities, and it's not what you think, it's not what people have told you. And she explained basically how Ellie's brain was just working so fast, and all the research that she had done and everything that she had learned, and explained to me basically getting her diagnosed would definitely help her a lot more than me just sitting there being in denial. So but she said it in a way that made me basically understand. So her appointment took so long to get her diagnosed that at that point, the night before that, we were going to go to the doctor appointment, I knew that she was going to get diagnosed. She's 3 years old and not talking at all, and I was nervous to hear it. I'm am I going to freak out and have a mental breakdown in the office? I don't know. But I was so used to the idea, and at that point had done so much research and just kind of understood it a lot more, that it's literally not a bad thing at all. And, but I was scared in the beginning, just the idea. I was what if what if kids are mean to her? What if she has to live with me forever? All the things, the what ifs. And then, you do see, 50-year-old adults that are still with their old parents and stuff like that. And I just was what, I'm not going to be alive forever. Who's going to take care of her? So yeah, those were the things that made me nervous. But it's just a journey that I've been embracing, and I learned, so much more about her. This stuff, the way that she communicates is just so funny, like the way that she goes about things. Like she's silly, she's funny, she's just, I have the same experience as every other kid. It's just different.
It's just different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up because, a lot of people think just because children are not speaking that they don't actually like share those things. I have very intimate moments with my son.
Yeah.
Like they're fun. He's funny. He's witty. He's sassy.
Yeah. Sassy.
Very sassy.
Yeah, it's so silly.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm not missing out.
Yeah.
Just because he has autism and he's, non-speaking, I'm not missing out on anything. I just get just as much sass and just as much as I would if he was neurotypical.
Yeah.
It's just different, And, like you said, I had those things like about living, is he going to live with me forever? How can I be, I'm a research person. The field before I work in now, I'm from pharmaceutical, I did pharmaceutical compounding, and I'm like, I'm just going to research the whole living crap out of everything.
Yeah.
And I did, and I still do. And, that's why he's on the multitude of studies on.
Same.
Regimens, this is why he drinks out of copper. I charge his water and, just anything I can help to give him an edge on anything.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back to one point that you brought up, and I think that would be great for the listeners to hear too, is like, you said that you were in a little bit of a denial in the beginning, because I didn't deny it. I was like, because mine happened after an adverse event, because Elijah was fully verbal. And then he had an adverse event. Then he became doe-faced. I called doe-faced. He just was like sitting there, didn't make eye contact anymore. So his was a huge regression overnight. With that being said, mine was a little different. I knew something was wrong right after that. And they said, get tested, and then it was during COVID. Then COVID hit, and then all went to crap. And it was hard to get into testing because of COVID, because they could only take so many people in at a time. So I knew he was probably going to get the diagnosis, but how I received it was unprofessional.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. Especially, when you're in the pandemic and it's like, yeah, I had nobody to talk to. I had nobody, no friends that knew anything about autism. So who am I going to do? Turn that internet. That's what it did.
Yeah.
And that can be a little bit of a scary place, when you're Googling a lot of stuff. Yeah. So when you said denial, and I want, because we all walk this different journey. Can you help other parents maybe that could be currently in denial? What would you say to them?
I would say that it's the idea of just accepting who they are. Autism is not who your child is. It's just part of them, and I wish I would have just known that. Like, I was so scared of like putting a label on her, like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to just like walk up to people and be like, yeah, she has autism. Like, this is Ellie, she has autism. Like, am I going to have to do that? Am I going to, no, she's not. I'm not, I just had all these, like, I was like labeling her. Nobody else is labeling her. You know what I mean? It's just part of who she is. And like, I was almost in denial. Like, I knew in the back of my head, just like a lot of other parents are going to,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just doing a disservice to them. It's like denying, who your child is, or a part of who your child is. And it doesn't define them completely. Like her, when I was talking about when her therapist was explaining to me that they're all different. Like, she's got her own personality and she's going to be who she is. And getting the diagnosis is going to open so many doors for your child.
Yes.
Like, if I didn't get her diagnosed and she wasn't like in ABA and, meeting other parents at ABA and being in speech therapy and all those things, I wouldn't have found out any of the things that she could do. Like, she is capable of so much more than I ever knew. So being in denial was basically me just like blocking off her opportunities. And she gets, they get so many opportunities for different therapies, like music therapy, and I forgot what it's called, like the horse therapy.
Yeah, the therapeutic riding.
Yeah.
Hippotherapy.
All these cool things, and really getting to know her and what she likes, because wanting her to be a certain way and have this certain childhood it's just not going to happen. Like, you have to just embrace who your child is. Altogether, they're going to have their own, I guess that's not the right way to say it, because I keep saying it doesn't define who your kid is, but it's part of them. Like, being in denial is like probably one of the worst things I did for her, because we could have got all of this started, a lot sooner. And it's not a bad thing. Like, I was so scared that it was a bad thing, like, and it's not. Like, even my grandma was like joking around, not even, Ellie was being really silly, and she's like, would you love her as much if she wasn't on the spectrum? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I love everything that she does, her little cute special ways. And like, I wish that I knew how great this would be, and like how these therapies would like benefit her life, before I was like, no, like that is not my kid. No, she doesn't have anything wrong with her. Like, I wish that I knew that it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with her,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And, I keep bringing this up, and I brought this up several times, about the podcast. That's why I named it what it is, finding your identity in your autism journey. People say, well, don't you mean on? No, I mean in.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're walking, it's in the moment.
Yeah.
You're in the moment. It's for them. It's different perspectives. You're a mom. When she gets older, she can be able to tell her story. It might not be in conventional ways how we're talking right now, but we can use a letterboard. We can use AAC,
Mm-hmm.
So there's still means for that communication. And like you said, when, you're in denial, sometimes like you're putting that on you. You know what I mean? Like, you're putting that label there. Just like when I was grieving a kid I'd never had.
Yeah.
It made no sense. Just like, those labels didn't exist. You know?
Exactly.
So, give yourself some grace. That's what I had to do. I had to give myself grace to get over the grief of the child that I never had, and be able to embrace the child that I do have, that I have those beautiful, sweet moments with.
Yeah.
Because he can give me such little kisses, and how he acts, it just melts my heart. I just love it so much. I mean, you've seen how he was this morning.
The pure innocence. That's another thing that, like, she doesn't have those bratty tendencies that, I mean, she can be a little sassy, but I just feel like they have these, like, this, like, innocence, and, like, they're so, like, angelic, like, it's just pure, and they're just unapologetically themselves. Like, they're not embarrassed or thinking, what do these people think of me? Like, they're just like, I'm living my life, and I know that I just took all my clothes off in public, but I'm having a great time. And you're like, everyone's staring at us, and they're like, woo, like, that's Ellie, like. So.
Yeah, I will say, speaking of stripping in public, my son, we're doing a new therapy we started in February called Brain Balance.
Oh, that's so cool.
And what it does is balance out the parts of the hemisphere where they're deficient. And they said, well, he is right brain deficient. I said, oh, okay. Like, I know.
Yeah, what is that? I don't know.
They're like, okay, so you're going to see some new behaviors when things start integrating. I was like, okay. One is stripping. I was like, excuse me? Stripping? They're like, yes. That's a sensory thing, and they get, like, they start noticing their clothes a lot more, and they get hot, a lot more.
Yeah.
So they said, expect stripping when you start to see progress. I was thinking to myself, oh, no, that's not going to happen. All right, that's not going to happen. It happened in public several times now. But I guess, I know that it's working, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I'm seeing a lot of progression, in with this new therapy with it. But, yeah. So, I guess stripping can be a good thing.
Yeah.
That's the point of that.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I mean,
your child's going to be stripping, just so you know, but it's a good thing.
But I wonder for our kids with stripping, because when Arya would have her tantrums and meltdowns when she was a toddler, she would gear towards.
I love that. I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
I like. I know it sounds weird, but I like this better. Like I just want her to stay how she is. This is who she is.
I would almost like, if that was a possibility in the future, I would almost like want her to make that decision as an adult.
Yeah, it'd be her decision to make. I will say, the reason people have asked me, why did you choose fingerprint, for the podcast and for everything? Well, we're all individuals. I'm not the same as you or you, and our children aren't the same either. We're all individuals. We all have our own fingerprint. And we all have our own issues.
Yeah.
Well, just because we don't have autism doesn't mean that we don't carry on something. I mean, I am severely dyslexic. I have audio processing issues.
I don't like to call them issues, call them challenges.
Yeah, I like that.
Because if they're, the way I look at issues, it sounds like something that you can't resolve or work through. Where challenges, you often work through it.
I like that.
Yeah.
And you're trying to find a resolution.
So that's a good outlook to have on autism. Yes, I have dyslexia. Yes, I have audio processing disorder. Yes, my son has autism. Yeah. But he can do great things with that because I'm doing just fine.
I mean, I'm being so serious. Like, people think like, oh, like, he could technically, as an adult, even if he doesn't speak out loud, there's still lots of jobs, especially in the future with the way technology is growing, that he could be able to do communicating through devices. And he may not even have to. He just may be typing the entire time.
Yeah.
He can type into YouTube and look up his shows.
There you go.
Currently.
Yeah. And they're still so young. I think about the endless possibilities for Ellie all the time, too. Like, what she's going to be, who she's going to be. She's so young right now. But, like, every time she does anything, I'm like, oh, you're going to be an architect. You're going to be a lawyer. Look at you arguing with me in your little talk. Like, it's just little tiny things. I think about that all the time. And you know what I wanted to bring up? Do you guys get so annoyed when they are like staring at your kid or like, why doesn't she do this? And you're like, oh, she has autism. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, oh my gosh, why? It's not like, it's fine. Like, I hate that.
I do too. I dislike that. Or like, okay, come on, kids.
Oh yeah.
Like they're gonna catch it.
Yeah, I know. Like, don't let him sneeze on you. You're gonna get it too. Like, it's just.
Well, I've had parents in my field, because I work I'm an office manager for an ABA company, and I've gravitated toward this field because of Aria. And I've had parents tell me, they're like, oh yeah, like they've had either twins or they're in a private school that's kind of like similar to my daughter's, where like multiple grades are in one class.
Yeah.
They're like, oh well, like I don't want my normal child to be in the same class because I don't want him to pick those habits. And I'm like,
there's worse habits with the other kids, so I'm just.
The hilarious part is, currently in Aria's class, with her challenges and of like her behaviors of her meltdowns when she does have them, her teacher has told me, because Aria's she's in a private school, but they call it traditional, which is basically gen ed. And I chose to put her in that class because her academic scores are advanced for her to be in that. And I'm again, working through challenges. I'm like, because it's funny because the school actually was like, well, she could still be in foundation. I'm like, no, I don't want her to, because she has the ability to be and learn to adapt.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. I had to convince her own school, like, why. I'm like, you guys said it yourself. She can still have her behavior technician support her.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you want her, especially since her testing scores, her previous teacher who was in that foundation program, she said, I'm running out of things to teach Aria because it's
so
more
smart.
advanced than all my other kids. So finally everyone was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, Miss Skinner, we can do that. I'm like,
I've been telling you this whole time my kid is a complete brainiac, okay?
like yes, she has behavior challenges, but she's going to have that in either class.
Yeah.
So why not you guys? And then I told them, I was like, why not you guys put her in traditional? Looks great for you guys with her testing scores.
Yeah.
And then there's something, there's a story that you guys can be able to create.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah. And I'm like, oh wow, the light bulb's going off.
Yeah.
For marketing.
If it benefits them. Yeah.
I'm just like,
We can use her as a marketing tool.
great for us.
Well, it takes some time to get there.
It really does. And I'm just like, okay, all right. I'm not like thinking the thought process like, okay, I got what I wanted, but I'm just like, geez, I really had to connect the dots for you guys.
Yeah.
I will say, when it comes to our kids, Elijah's super smart. He can read and spell on an 8th grade level, and I've stopped there. I'm like, okay, we tested the 8th grade. We don't need to go any higher.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's something with the kids and their diagnosis and having autism, because there's not a single spelling test. I can't remember the last time Ari hasn't gotten 100% on her spelling test, and she does not bring her words home.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she does her sentences like they do the classwork, but she doesn't study at home. She just aces every single one of her spelling tests. I don't get it.
I'm telling you, their brains work so fast.
They work so fast, and they're so intricate. Because, okay, like, we were spelling on our spelling boards, okay? And it was indigo. The word was indigo. I had to stop and think about how to spell indigo.
Yeah.
He spelled it out for I had a chance
for your
to help
brain
him.
even, yeah.
I'm like, okay, well. And then I spelled word wrong, which was lizard. I transposed 2 of the...
Oh.
I was like, oh, I felt like an idiot. I did. But I was like, well, that's great. I mean, lizard is not, at that time, he was 5 when that happened. So a 5-year-old, most 5-year-olds do not spell lizard. That's even in,
No.
neurotypical.
No.
That is not a thing. All right. So, like, we were talking about, they have, I presume, confidence in Elijah, no matter what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if he doesn't know how to do it. I don't care if it's his first time work. He's learning. Did I know how to do everything in the beginning? No. Do I think that he can be capable of doing it at one point? Yes. Like, he's in swim. He hated getting in pools. Hated it. But I'm like, we have so much water. What if someone knocks you over? I need you to know how to get out.
Yeah.
I don't care if you don't like it. And if you don't, now he's having a love for swimming.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about him to be swimming or make him do swimming. It was about, like, I need you to be safe.
Yeah.
So we've been doing that for about 2.5 years now. And he's getting really good. And it's helping a lot with crossing the midline. And we have a great adaptive coach. And I will put that in the show notes too, her episode, because it's really helpful on, getting that OT and that motor in as well.
I'm going to try that. Really?
Like, I try not to, every child's journey is different. Oh, there we go. Sorry.
That's good.
Every child's journey and experience and development is different. I think back to when Arya got diagnosed. And I remember her, and just thinking back how little I knew then and how much I know now, because I remember her dad called me, and he was waiting in the exam room because he took Arya to the next pediatrician appointment. And it was sometime after she was a year. And he called me. He's like kind of panicking. He's like, hey, they had me do this like checklist, which is actually the DSM-5. But I didn't know any of that before. And they scored it, and they're getting a referral for Arya to be evaluated for autism. And he's like, he's like, I don't know what to think of this. And I was like, well, and I remember I didn't freak out, because I was pregnant with Arya when two of my cousins were pregnant. One was 2 weeks behind me, and one was about a month after me. And seeing their babies develop, because they have neurotypical children, and seeing their babies develop, I kind of always noticed a difference. And it was more kind of like an answer for me. And I was just like, okay, well, I mean, whatever they say, wherever it's to call, let's do it. And he was like, well, are you sure? And I was like, what do we got to lose? Yeah. That was I was like, Arya isn't talking very much. She wouldn't say words. She would almost like kind of like hum the words. Yeah. And I was like, she's not talking. And she did change, and she changed possibly, what did you call it? Adverse?
He had an adverse reaction.
She potentially did at 18 months, because she went from constantly laughing, giggly, and she made eye contact to no eye contact and kind of like, and not as laughing and giggly. And she also stopped trying to learn how to walk. She was starting to walk at 14 months, but she was crawling for a long time. And I remember that was a 4-hour appointment. We even had to take a break. Mm-hmm. And I remember the doctor when she was giving us her scoring at the end of it. She actually gave it to us at the end of the appointment. Now this was in California, so I don't know if they do things differently, but she basically told us like she is diagnosing her with autism level 3, and then she's like, now before you guys get really concerned, she was like, it's more so because her scoring was so low. She was like, she was not able to answer or do things like I was prompting her to. And so then from there, I don't remember what resources she gave us, if much, but from there it was kind of like what do we do? Because this whole thing that we were talking about resources, at least in 2016, there was not a lot. Yeah. There wasn't ABA wasn't even very known in 2016.
I think it had like more of a stigma behind it. Mm-hmm. There's still a big stigma behind ABA. Yes. And there's like a lot of people say, oh, don't do ABA, it changes your child. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get off of that. You know why? Because school changes your child too. Yes. When your child goes to school, what are they getting? They're getting a program. They're getting programmed. Not saying like they're programming them to be something. I'm saying they're teaching them a curriculum that is a program. Yeah. Plain and simple. Yeah. We did not learn what we know now. If you were going to take a course, that's a program. You're learning something. Yeah. It's like we're downloading. So it's with ABA, it's where I get so upset with people when they say, oh, that's changing their personality. So is the school system. So is your college. Yeah. So is everything else in your life. Because you're not going to be the same person after you take that course. If you are, why did you take it?
And at least with ABA, you have more involvement with your child's development of the treatment plan they're incorporating. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't know about ABA in her toddler years. Once she turned 3, she got the acceptance into the ESC program, and that was challenging because Arya's father, thankfully, he was never in denial. It was just more of a shock for him. For me, I've always kind of been this way, and I kind of like it's my own testament to saying like God put me on this earth to be Arya's mother, because even when I had to have an emergency C-section with Arya, and like the doctors had to take Arya into the NICU because she had a pneumothorax, where basically she didn't take her first breath on her own, and they had to like do it. kind of like CPR on the baby just to get her to understand and breathe. And the doctors were basically telling her father, like, hey, you're going to want to spend time with mom because mom could have postpartum depression from not being able to see the baby right away. Surprisingly, I was just fine. I actually told him, go be with the baby, keep an eye on the baby. I'm really drugged up right now on epidural. He's like, are you sure? Like, he's like because he was thinking in his head what the doctors were saying. And I was like, yes. I was like, go be with the baby. I'm going to be okay. I want you to be there with the baby if anything's like happening. And that's kind of like what happened with Arya's diagnosis. And my family, like you were saying, with your kiddo's father, my parents were just so in. I don't even know if it's for me. It wasn't just denial for them. It was more like they didn't want to acknowledge that she had autism because something can't be wrong with their granddaughter.
That's how Ellie's grandparents are too, and her dad.
And they're like, because Arya is really smart. Arya at 2 years old was already identifying her ABCs. 2.5 to 3 years old, she was already starting to read the words from her little toddler books. Yeah. She was already picking up melodies and memorizing them on her xylophone. They're like, she's so smart. Like, there's nothing wrong with our granddaughter, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, and it was really challenging because that was when I lived with my parents because my Arya's father and I split up and got divorced. And so it was really challenging and the household was just very volatile. And so it affected Arya's development. And it wasn't until she was about 5 or almost 5 and she and I moved out and I was really able to focus on her. But when she was 3 and she got into the special education program that actually a lot of parents were having a hard time getting their kids into, like my parents were like, it's really hard for me to use this word, but like I did get told like she doesn't need to be in a retardation class. And I'm just like I can't, like I'm not. And then I had the battle because they wanted to have convinced me to put her in a Catholic school. I'm like, the girl just got kicked out of a regular preschool and she's doing just great in the public special education school, and they accept her for her, and they have teachers who can work with her, and you're wanting to put her in a Catholic school?
Yeah.
For prestige?
Not appropriate.
No.
Yeah.
So, like, her journey, like, we really were able to start working with her when she was 5 and forward. And the amount of progress we have made from when she's 5 all the way to now to 10. Mm-hmm. And 5 years doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. And I mean, Ruth, you met Arya when she was 7?
Or she was 6.
When did I get out here? Wait, she was born in 2014. I got out here in 2021. So no, she was 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know you haven't seen Arya lately, but you've seen my Facebook post. Mm-hmm. The kid that you met then.
Oh, no. Totally. She has grown so much. She has grown so much. And I love that I've got to see that grow. You know what I mean? I've known her when she was at her lows, and I'm getting to see the highs, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to see those growth in the kids. I love it.
Like,
it's so wonderful.
Like Arya isn't at the point yet where she can do work. Like I'm gonna try to put her in a sport, but she just started this last month a youth gym program in St. Pete, and she's doing it. And yeah, she's not like, she doesn't look as, I don't want to say perfect, but she doesn't look as neurotypical as the other kids in the program. But what's so amazing is all the kids are so supportive of her and the gym coach, and she's doing it.
Yeah, she's just doing
like she's learning how to exercise. She's learning how she's getting exercise, and how she's come in her communication from when you met her and then what you're seeing and what I'm telling you about. And then she's last summer was her first summer at Boys and Girls Club Camp, but that was her first summer at any camp of able to stay and be successful.
Yeah.
And now she's looking forward to new camp. I have her also enrolled for 1 week at the rescue that we got our pup at. And she's able to have her RBT there. And my whole point is like, Aria is where she's at. I wasn't ever sure she was going to be. Like, I didn't even know if we were going to ever have A and B conversations. And we do now.
Yeah.
You know what? I've started adapting, not thinking about the future for him anymore. I think about it in some aspects, meaning like I have things in place for the future. If he needs something in the future, I have a trust in place for him. I have a special needs trust. I have a restorative trust. I have all that good stuff in place for him. Okay? So if we need that, we got it. But I'm not going to think about, can he live on his own anymore? Because that can't surprise me.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just went in there and made your own quesadilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because we've been cooking as part of our feeding therapy. You know, he eats the same thing. But, and, you know, the feeding therapist brought up a good point. You know, she's like, involve him more in the cooking. Because she's like, you smell first.
Nope.
So, and smells have a taste. You know, they're like, come in a room like, that smells so good. You know?
Yeah.
You like take a big whiff of it, you know. She's like, do that, and it will entice him to maybe try it. And, you know, just that little modification has helped. He wants to help me cut up the onions. Everything. He's my prep guy.
I love that.
Yeah, and I've just been doing this in the last 6 months, and it's great for homeschool because I look at it like, okay, I get recipes. Okay, we're going to read it. I'm making use of the AAC. He finds it. I didn't even know AAC had hamburger meat on there, but it does.
Oh, okay.
So he's like, hamburger meat? Now he labels a lot of things, and like when he goes to ABA, sometimes they're like, "Why does he keep bringing up casserole?" I was like, "Oh well, we made a casserole this weekend." Well, it was Johnny Marzetti, but they didn't have Johnny Marzetti on there. I just called it a casserole.
Yeah.
So we kept saying casserole. I said, I think he was trying to tell you guys that he made a casserole this week.
That's so awesome.
Because he did. Now, did he eat it? No. But he touched all the items that went in there, so that's big. Because before he wouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
He helped me plate it. He helped me put it on there. So I'm teaching him things, you know, like, you know, your plate, your fork, your spoon, and he loves to sit down and have dinner. He wants all of us to sit down for dinner. Dad and Mom has to be sit down for dinner, or he's not eating. That's just our routine.
Aw, that's so sweet. Family time.
Yeah,
I love family time.
I mean, it goes into like what you were saying. Like, I did not think my daughter would ever want me to, cook her different meals.
Yeah,
like where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought that, and the fact that today, the very present, she prefers. Sorry, that's. She prefers, for me to cook now because I'm very grateful and blessed that now she doesn't have a limited diet.
Mm-hmm.
And she eats vegetables.
Wow.
Like, I cook chicken. I cook steak. I saute, green beans, carrots, mushrooms. And I mean, she'll sometimes be like, depending on the seasoning, she'll sometimes be like, I don't like that. And I'm like, okay, so you don't have to eat that part. No worries. Just take that out. We ate just the other day at a vegan restaurant because we just were curious to try it. It was right by my office. And she ate the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, so it just
so awesome.
It comes to like the point of like where you're saying like, I've also myself, because our father, I will say, I do know, I'm not going to say I think, I do know she's going to go to college. Only because she just does so well in academics. And it's not so much that I'm like, oh, my kid's going to go to college. No, that's just an area that she excels in. And she and I have talked about it. And then she could, and in her mind, she's like, well, that's the next step after school. And I'm like, yes, that's the next step. And just the way I told her is, I'm like, you don't even have to use your degree. Mm-hmm. I was like, but it's good. I was like, since you excel in this area, it's best you go get a degree. And I flat out told her, especially since you have the ability to do it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I was like, Mama doesn't even have a degree. And I have to work as hard as I do without it. I was like, and that could be so much, that opens so much opportunities to you. So that, me saying that is more focused on like what I think, utilizing her strengths.
Yeah.
But the same to piggyback and agree with you, I've stopped like, oh, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. Because just on the day to day, she continues to just put me in awe.
Yeah.
Like, the way her communication's developing, these last few months, starting the new year, I mean, she has not communicated with me this much about her emotions and her feelings within the new year. And it's like she got into a moment with her dad, and I got called over to help at de-escalate because she got into a really emotional meltdown. And basically, like, she was in the wrong. But when I came over there, the first thing she said to me, she's like, I don't like how he treated me. Because he yelled at her.
Yeah.
Like any parent would. I had to stay in parent mode, but I was like, oh my God, you just unprompted told me how you feel.
Yes, good job. Go.
I was like, yay. I was like,
Don't.
But you're in trouble right now.
I'm like, but stay focused, Alysen. Stay focused. I love that too.
I'm like that all the time. I'm like, that was so amazing, but like, don't do that again.
Like, it's a hard thing to walk.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, that is
it's
a hard
great
thing.
emotion, you know? But, and you don't want to reward it.
Well, and I had to think on my feet because I was like, okay, I want to continue this. And I was like, okay. I was like, that is really good that you expressed how you feel with Dad reacting to you. Now let's talk about what happened before Dad reacted that way. And then we talked about it. And then I was like, okay, so how would you feel? I had to reflect, basically, if Dad did those things to you, I would not like it. And I'm like, okay. Would you? I'm like, so we ended up being able to calm down and reflect from it and move on with the morning. But like, my point is, like, people think that like the diagnosis is like a death sentence. It's like getting put away forever. And
well, I think there's a stigma because back in, 82, up until 82, they institutionalized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, that's still fresh. That's like 40 something years now, 42 years ago.
Mm-hmm. That's something.
So they used to like institutionalize
and do shock therapy.
Yeah. So, I really have enjoyed our conversation today. It's been, off the cuff. It's just real moms having a conversation, speaking about our experiences. And sometimes it's hard, but I think we need this as a community. We need to hear other moms at different stages and know where we're at and be okay where we're at. Because it's a journey. So any closing statements that either of you guys would like to let our listeners know?
I guess I would say keep an open mind because it's going to be so much better than you think it is. And when you said the question about, people have asked if there was like a medicine or a supplement that you could give your daughter to, make her normal or whatever, that like just opened my eyes so much. And other newly diagnosed, parents, you're going to feel the same way too. You wouldn't want to change your kid because it's so much better than you could ever imagine.
My biggest advice to newly diagnosed parents, like, just focus on being supportive and finding them the support, what you feel of the appropriate therapies that you want them to gear towards, and have faith in them because they're capable of so much and they're capable of so much more through your support and love. Mm-hmm. Yes, the challenges can be exhausting. There's days you want to break down and cry, or if you do break down and cry, I've cried so many times throughout the years in the last decade. And I'm not ashamed of it because I'm human. Yeah. And because I've acknowledged it and I've worked through it, it's made me a stronger parent and mother to my daughter. So that's the biggest thing is I would recommend is just have faith and just be as supportive and getting them support where they need as much as possible.
Yeah. That's well said, ladies. Thank you guys so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to say this was a very powerful chat. The voices and stories are reminders that, you're going on a journey, you're on this path, and it's okay to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be in that moment. Sometimes, I feel like my son's been diagnosed with this because I have to take a step back because I do so much. And I needed him to slow me down, to ground me, to open doors that I didn't even think was possible, or that I know or knew that could be impossible. So again, I want to say thank you for joining us on our episode today, Finding Your Identity in Your Autism Journey. And if this episode touched you, share it with someone who, thinks that they may need it. They may need this uplifting information. And if you are not already connected with us, join us in our community on Facebook called Your Autism Journey, where we have real conversations. It's met with faith and advocacy and just love. Until next time, remember, keep showing up, keep speaking up, and always remember, we are rising together. Until next time.
Thank you so much for joining me today on Finding Your Identity in Your Autism Journey. I hope you found inspiration, insight, and connection in today's conversation. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. The road may be tough, but every step we take together is one closer to understanding, compassion, and support for our children and families. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with others who might benefit, and leave a review to help spread the word. And as always, I'm here cheering you on, having uncomfortable conversations. Keep advocating, and most importantly, find your identity in this beautiful autism journey. Until next time, take care and stay strong.